So I have a confession to make. So, really, if I have a confession to make, it's that, it's a little clickbaity, but I've never been a producer or audio engineer. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. I did live audio for my school for a year, and I am a huge fan of audio. I like doing audio work. It's something I'm really passionate about that I don't actually do. That's my issue. The only audio work I really do is recording this fucking show and editing Retro Bros. That's really all the audio work I do. So that's the thing, is that if people get mad at me for things I say, my credentials are fuck you, I know more than you. So it's really it. So sorry about your hurt feelings. But without further ado, the video that was voted in, the video that you've all been waiting for, this is production of music. So let's get off with the main bits of stuff that's going on here. So I didn't script anything because I don't even know what I want this video to be. So I'm just kind of going off the cuff with some talking points, and that's about it. Also, Happy New Year! Wow, woo! Back to this chair, back to my beer behind me, back to my makeshift set that's actually just my living room. Wowie. So let's talk about this. And I wore this shirt to commemorate it because everyone knows Dead Kennedys spent the most money on production ever. So let's get into the discussion of lo-fi and hi-fi music. So the differences are, lo-fi is when something kind of sounds garbage on purpose. Like if you listen to a lot of grindcore, listen to a lot of punk, maybe some like really small indie bands, grunge, a lot of noise, anything, some bedroom pop maybe, and then like older stuff. That's what would be called lo-fi. Now, lo-fi is basically when you have a lower production quality, or whether that's actual lower production quality or perceived lower production quality. And then there's hi-fi. Hi-fi, as you can imagine, is the opposite, where it's a very high production quality. And whether that's perceived or is actually a high production quality, you tend to see that a lot in normal pop, rap, folk, gent, prog, rock bands, most mainstream metal bands. Basically, that's the standard. Lo-fi is not the standard, although I kind of wish it was. Let me just tell you what here. I would like to listen to Skater Boy, but deep fried. That could be fun. I'm not going to put the gag here because I'm going to get copyright claimed, and God knows I don't want that. But some examples, lo-fi and hi-fi, will come later. We are just talking about the terms and what they mean so you can have a better understanding about them. When recording a band or recording your band, if you're going to DIY it, the first thing you need to realize is what would better suit your band, whether it's lo-fi or hi-fi. Something like punk, you're not going to get far. Punk's whole thing, whether it's folk punk or actual punk or ska or whatever, ska can kind of get away with it depending, is that it's all supposed to be either DIY or extremely low budget. It's one of the two. Especially in folk punk, it should basically always be DIY, but you have to figure out what would suit your band better, basically. So punk, for instance, you would really want to nail that lo-fi energy. You want it to sound like the back of a basement, the depths of a cave, belly of a fucking whale. You want it to sound as shitty, okay, picture this. So if you're in a band, you know what I'm talking about. You all know what I'm talking about because you've all done this. You come up with a new song. Wow, this sounds great. I want to write lyrics to it. Or the vocalist is like, wow, I want to write lyrics to this. And I'm really shit at improvising. I can't improvise for anything, so I need to write lyrics first. So what you do is you place your phone. You place one of these bad boys. That probably really fucked with the camera sensor. Ooh, woo, that looks bad. So you place one of these on record. You place that in the fucking center of the room, and you back up, and they play. And you want basically that sound, but make your band room and auditorium, then you're getting it. I mean, even if it's that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be reverberous. It just means it kind of has to have the quality of a potato that's been sitting there for the last 3 months. You know what I mean? You know the ones that look like hentai. But if you're playing something like Gent or like prog, lo-fi makes it really sucks. Lo-fi prog, I don't know if y'all have ever heard it, because it doesn't fucking exist. It sounds like shit. I don't know any bands off the top of my head, but they're out there. I've heard some. So for stuff like that, you want a more clean tone, specifically for metal and rock. Basically, a good basic kind of play-by-play for this is, if you're an underground band starting off, if it's highly technical, you want the highest quality of production behind your music. If it's low technicality, you can get away with some lo-fi stuff, and if it's like something like punk or grunge or noise rock, you want the lowest production quality possible. So once you've gotten that out of the way, you can then move on to the next topic, picking your producer. Now, picking your producer is something everyone learns the hard way. Everyone thinks like, oh, I'll just find the first person and do it because, you know, audio engineering's not that hard. You should be able to do it. I'm up there. And so they think it's easy. So they just kind of pick the first dude that comes around. Whether they're good or not, it comes as an afterthought. My band learned this the hard way. And this will kind of be a little bit of a different. I'm not going to say their name because it could drag them through the mud. But my band went and recorded with this person, and they charged us for 3 songs out of a 5-song EP. They charged us almost $2,000 for 3 songs. And when they got it back to us, it was the worst. It was literally, God, I don't even know how to describe it, dude. It's better. It was mixed like black metal. Listen to a Mayhem song from like 1990. It sounded like that, but imagine that on a deathcore track. Because you have to remember, we were deathcore. We weren't like lo-fi. We were like right down the middle. We didn't want super hi-fi shit. We didn't want lo-fi shit. We wanted right down the middle. The even neutral. We wanted neutral. It's not like after we said we didn't want to work with them anymore, like, because what the fuck, they basically ghosted us. So we didn't get that $2,000 back. We weren't gonna get that $2,000 back. We knew that. And then we went to our buddy's place. He got the whole job done fantastically for $500. We didn't actually release that EP. Sorry. we released a single though, so if you want to check that out, it'll be in the description. I mean, we're not a band anymore, but still. Also, if you want some good fucking studio work, Studio Planetarium, they're wonderful. They mixed our whole EP. They're great fucking people, and they do great fucking mixes. So like picking again, that's just almost every band learns that. Like, just don't get scammed. It's so easy to get scammed in this business, dude. Like, again, we committed like a bunch of cardinal sin scam stuff very early on. We also signed with a management company as a fucking local band. Why did we think that was a good idea? We ended up paying $300 a month for this dude to basically not do a fucking thing for us besides send us stats on bigger artists' music. And then when we asked him, like, hey, can you get our song on a Spotify playlist of some kind? He basically said, Omega lol no, and just straight up didn't. He just was like, no, but I can get you on my friends list on Deezer. And we're like, who the fuck actually uses Deezer unironically? No. So, no. Basically, this kind of ties into don't get scammed, because it's very easy to get scammed while trying to pick a producer. And that's just something you want to try to avoid, because then you're out a lot of money for basically nothing in return. And it's a really hard task, but you just have to vet your people well. And you just have to look at their past work, look at the kind of product they put out, look at their price range for that, comparatively to that product, look at the pool of other producers in your area that are around, so that you can get kind of a good, reasonable comparison. And then just go with whoever fits best with your schedule, fits best with your budget, all that kind of stuff. And that can do your genre well. That's a really big thing. And that can do your genre well. Next thing we're going to get into is a bit of that very... very important that people tend to overlook. It's a scary word. It's a studio etiquette. I know. So studio etiquette is very important, especially because usually you're walking in, if you're a local band, you're walking into someone's home half the time. So respect their fucking house, you degenerates. My producer for my old band was very cool. We basically just drank beer and spitballed vocal ideas and then just laid down sick vocal lines, and that's basically all we did when I went to go record with them. But like, respect your goddamn person's house rules, basically. And if you're in a studio, it's even more important then, because you're surrounded by thousands of dollars of fucking important gear that they probably can't replace without a sizable chunk of their wallet going away. So just be fucking respectful and follow their rules. That's step one. Step two is coming in with your song prepared. Do not still be figuring out the song in the studio. Do not do that to your producer or your audio engineer or however you want to say it. Do not do that. Go into the studio with the song figured out, go in ready to record it, and go in looking for the best results. That's what you gotta ask for. That's what you gotta do. And then also, if you have a bad take, don't try to make that your take. Redo the take. There's not, even though people like to pretend there's such a thing as studio magic. Sorry to shatter your childhood dreams, buddy. It's like the Tooth Fairy. Shit doesn't exist. Also, let your producer know what your equipment is beforehand so they can get kind of an idea of what they need to do, especially with guitars, because there's a huge debate, especially if you're a metal fan, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's a huge debate whether you should do digital amps like Kemper or Axe-Fx, or you should do like tube amps like a Marshall PV or something like that. And that will greatly affect what your producer is going to be needing to be able to record you. This kind of scoots into the next topic of plugins and DAWs. So if you're going to be self-recording, because I said I was going to talk about this as well, then you're going to want to look into DAWs and plugins and techniques on how to record stuff. So this is where I'm going to get into that kind of like stuff where I'm kind of showing examples of like what that stuff will sound like. Uh-oh. So every time you hear that, it's going to be the example I'm going to be using for fixing stuff in post, I guess, or just adding stuff to make it sound better. But anyways, let's get into first like discussion about DAWs. So what a DAW is, it stands for Digital Audio Workspace. Basically, it's just like the interface you use to curate audio and stuff like that. There's thousands of different DAWs. And people tend to argue about like, oh, this one's the best, this one's the best. No, they each have their purpose. Oh, Reaper's good for live bands, like, or lively bands, like, you know, that use actual instruments. Ableton's really good for anything electronic, really, and just all around good software, but costs out the ass, so like, fuck them. Fruity Loops is really good for rap and stuff like that, but not as good, really, necessarily for everything else. You kind of have to force it to work. I mean, you can make it work, but you just kind of have to force it to work. This is, you know, and it costs a lot too, but there's lots of nefarious sites that can help with that. And then there's Adobe Audition for someone who doesn't record but just needs to work on stuff for a while. There's doing stuff in Premiere if you're just broke and suddenly you're suddenly the audio engineer for the project. Ooh, oh no. And then there's Audacity for folk punk artists. But they all have their place, and they all have their purposes, really, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. Really, it just comes down to doing your research and figuring out what you can and can't do with an audio workspace, with a DAW. Really, generally, they're all pretty good at everything. It's just they excel at certain things. By the way, all those things I listed were just my opinion and what I've heard. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's law. Don't fucking flame me in the comments, you goddamn elitists. Anyways, and then we have to talk about plugins and VSTs. So plugins and VSTs are basically add-ons that don't come with the program that you have to find online and pay for, so that you can get certain effects or certain other companies' effects, and there's certain like UI for their effects. It's basically like, if you play guitar, they're basically like pedals, but studio pedals, kind of, in a weird way. But that's a general layman's term way of saying it. But they all have different effects and different uses, and there's a lot of them. And it all just depends on what kind of you do generally, you know? For instance, like if you're doing a lot of metal work, you're gonna want to have a distortion, you're gonna want to have a reverb, you're gonna want to have a compression, you're probably gonna want to have a lot of equalizers. But that's just the last two are just for any kind of music, let's be real. I mean, the last... Okay, really, you're just for specifically metal, you're going to want distortion, and you're going to want distortion, and more distortion, and only distortion, just distortion, just distortion, just distortion. Speaking of distortion, doing some of this stuff will serve certain purposes. Like, for instance, if you're trying to make something sound more rough, more gritty, you know, add distortion. So here's that clip with distortion on it.
Uh-oh.
And then, like, if you're gonna want to, I'm making a goddamn YouTube video, why can't you just go do this at a different time other than noon in the PM and I haven't slept in 20 hours? Shut up, fuck you. Let me get a hold of my life. Anyways, and reverb is like really good for making something sound kind of more spacious. It's a term that's called like wetting the vocals or wetting the track. I've heard that. Don't look at me weird. And like it's just kind of used to make the track sound more full, I guess, because it kind of spreads out the sound, and that's really useful for basically every genre. But you always want to put it on vocals, so here's that sound with reverb.
Uh-oh. Stinky.
And there's also chorus, which everyone's confused about except for audio engineers. Don't fucking lie to me and tell me you actually know what chorus does. It's just kind of reverb, but does another thing. It's kind of like flanger, but also does another thing, and it's kind of like distortion, but also not that much really.
Uh-oh. Stinky.
There's compression, there's limiters, there's fucking phasers, pitch shifters, EQs. I'm gonna go through them in rapid fire because I'm tired of trying to make witty jokes. Just
Uh-oh. Stinky. Uh-oh. Stinky. Uh-oh. Stinky.
Uh-oh. Stinky.
Uh-oh. Stinky.
go. Okay, so now let's talk about what I said before at the beginning and I haven't gotten back to yet. Lo-fi versus hi-fi. So we're gonna use that same soundtrack and we're trying to make that same sound. I'm gonna try to make one lo-fi and I'm gonna try to make one sound kind of hi-fi. Granted, it's one sound. So I don't know how well that's gonna go, but we'll try. Fuck it. Fuck it. And
Uh-oh. Stinky. Uh-oh. Stinky.
go. Okay. Really, when you're in a band, it's all about having the visualization of what you want your music to sound like beforehand. Like as an editor, for instance, I know probably most of you won't get this, and that's fair. I'm just kind of talking to myself at this point because exhaustion has finally hit me in the middle of recording this. But like when you're an editor, you kind of have to have the pre-visualization of what you want the final product to look like before you start going around and doing everything, because otherwise it's going to be a jumbled mess and nothing you really want is going to get done. It's always going to be kind of half-cocked. So what you're going to want to do is have that knowledge in your head already before you get into it and before you start actually working on it. Like, I knew what I wanted for my last band's EP. I know what I want for my EP I'm working on now. By the way, I'm working on an EP. It's a one-man grinding hardcore band. Don't worry about it. I'll talk more about it when it actually starts, like, really coming through. Sorry, I was disassociating because of how the comments are gonna probably look. Yeah, I said a lot of opinions. Ugh. I have to go to my elitist bunker. All right, better call my friend from Nevada and tell him I'm getting in the bunker. Anyways, hey, thanks for watching. I hope you like the new kind of structure I'm doing, where it's a little more off the top of my head, a little more comedy involved, if you can call it that, and a little more, and also just talking about concepts again. And I also hope you guys like the We Are All We Have series. I've really been enjoying making those. I know, where it's, so that's been really fun. I'm streaming again for the most part. So if you're a night owl and are up at ungodly hours of the night, like I am all the time, I stream often-ish. So you go give my Twitch a follow. It's in the links below and stuff like that, as well as the rest of my social medias. If you want to go follow me on all of those, who cares, whatever. YouTube jargon, blah blah blah, follow me. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you are new here, please, I would like to ask you a favor, and that favor is to listen to every single word I say as if I'm a cult leader and as if you are a lonely 20-year-old in the 60s. Cool, so I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to need you to sub, I'm going to need you to like, I'm going to need you to comment, I'm going to need you to show all your friends and indoctrinate them into the cult as well that we are now apparently running. But yeah, please sub if you're new so you can see all my new videos when they come out, because I don't really have an upload schedule, so they're kind of all over the place. Like if you like the video, comment if you want to tell me something or scream at me or whatever. Show a friend if they haven't seen it yet so you can boost up my views and make me feel better about myself. Make me feel like this is all worth it. Not worthless. That's how I feel all the time about myself. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you discover some new music today. Goodbye.